Well, gosh, welcome to the Short Box Podcast. All right, I get it. I'm not a voice actor, and I should quit while I'm ahead. But you know who's pretty good at this? And you get one guess, Short Box Nation. And if you already peeked at the episode title, that's cheating. All right, done guessing yet? Jason Marsden, and he's not just pretty good at it. He's a damn professional. Jason Marsden is an actor, producer, and director with a career spanning over 25 years. He's probably literally had a voice in your childhood and is known for some of his key roles such as Max Goofy from a Goofy movie, Thackeray Binks from the movie Hocus Pocus, and Bart Allen from the Young Justice series. And a much longer list than anyone really has time to go through. Jason joined us to talk about his career as a voice actor and the different projects he's worked on throughout the years. But most importantly, he wanted to talk about his upcoming appearance at Ancient CityCon, taking place this Friday through Sunday, September 7th through the 9th. Ancient CityCon is returning home to St. Augustine, and the man in charge, the one we can all send our thanks and appreciation to, Max Michaels, stopped by to talk about what to expect at the convention this year. So expect to hear a lot of awesome name drops for guests and vendors. One of them even rhymes with Willie Best. And per the usual, if this is your first time tuning into the Short Box, consider subscribing to the show on your favorite podcast platform. So whether you use iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, or SoundCloud, find the Short Box, hit that subscribe button, and make it a breeze when it comes to following us for new episodes and additional content. And while you're at it, if you're on social media, find the Short Box Podcast, hit that subscribe or like button, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. We're always posting news, articles, and other awesome content. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into these interviews. The Short Box is proud to present episode 214, Jason's Second Chance.
I present to you the Short Box, Season 5. Let's go, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a grand time. Lighten your comic world up like a landmine. First class Marvel man fine with a tan line. iTunes, the Short Box, you know my favorite line. Top shelf pop culture, comic book vulture. Supply what you need, elevating for the culture. Who better than we? Jacksonville's best voted. Season 5, round of applause, it's a golden moment. Fanboys and fangirls, here come another round of build to Wakanda forever. You know we hold you down, so sit back and relax and elevate your vibe. It's truly been an honor. Oh yes, the pleasure's all mine. Yeah.
Max, this is what, your third time up on the coming through for the show?
I think it is. I'm
you're definitely you're getting up there in like our Short Box guest veterans.
Oh no,
like list up there, man. It's a prestigious, very select few.
I'm so honored,
man. But every time you come here, you always have a cool event going on that you want to talk to us about, and more importantly, share with the fans. And this time is no different as well. Correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I always got something crazy I got to get into and try to drag everybody else through too.
But man, you put in a lot of work. You were just telling me about all these pit stops that you had to do for this weekend's event that you're about to announce. But you are a busy man, Max.
Yeah.
I respect it.
Well, you know, no rest. I'll do that when I'm dead.
Yeah.
Which may be soon at the rate I'm going.
Nah, come on, Max. Max, what's going on this weekend?
This weekend, we are bringing Ancient CityCon back to life and bringing it back to St. Augustine at the World Golf Village Renaissance Hotel Resort. You know, it's a show that's been previously going on in Jacksonville for 10 years now. And the owner decided he wanted to retire it and didn't want to do it anymore. And instead of, starting a new show and trying to get something brand new going again, I've been going to Ancient CityCon. I think it was probably my first convention I ever went to in town because it's been around for so long. And I know a lot of other people. It was their first convention, and I've vended there, and I've covered it for Movement Magazine, and I've had such a good time at it. I thought, man, they really need to bring this back. This show needs to stick around. And when he decided to give it up, it was a big disappointment to a lot of people. And so we wanted to bring it back with a little, freshen it up, give it a new attitude, and bring in, bigger guest stars and more attractions, and have a lot of fun with it and see how it goes. So.
Okay, because I wasn't aware that the original owner had canceled it. So it's kind of cool to hear that, a fan like yourself valued the memories and what the name meant for cons here in town, that you wanted to revitalize it. Because I mean, it could have been easy to just pick up where you left off, whole brand new name, brand, like just spanking new brand.
I mean, granted, people do tend to like shiny new things, and we thought about that a lot. We debated it, and we went over names and ideas and concepts, and we just said, so much has been done before, and there's been a lot of people trying stuff, and there's been a lot of new shows that try to pop up, and if it's so hard to get the word out these days, that we wanted something recognizable and something that people were already familiar with, if possible, and the best name we could think of was Ancient City Con, since that was something that was there and it was available. So, and the previous owner was, I've worked with him on Ancient City Con before, doing after parties and helping him promote the show, and I've always loved it. So it was kind of it was just that right fit at the right time kind of thing for us to do it. Because with this show, it's actually the gentleman who owns the Jacksonville Tattoo Convention, who's been doing that for 14 years now. He approached me and said, I want to start a convention with you. We got this great space. I'm doing it at the World Golf Village,
which is a fantastic space.
It's a very cool venue. I really love it, and it's such a kind of diamond in the rough down there. And he said, let's start a show, and I said that'd be fantastic. But we've got that's a big uphill battle. Starting a brand new show, especially, and if people don't know, people aren't familiar with it, they're going to immediately be skeptical. So at least with Ancient City Con, there's a lot of history to it, and people have a frame of reference for it. Although they only have a past frame of reference. Now we've got to get them into the new frame of reference with new venue. I don't think it's ever been at the World Golf Village before. It's it's back in St. Augustine where it originally started, but 10, 11 years ago, there wasn't a big nerd scene here in Jacksonville, or anywhere really. So it's his his moving up here to Jacksonville made sense because it's where all the action was, for what there was. Now that the scene has just exploded and it's so much of our popular culture now, it's easier to do things a little further out of town and draw people in and draw people from all over. We've got people coming in from quite a few different places to see some of our guest stars. So.
And thank you for that background, because I didn't know a few of those pieces. But you mentioned taking the con, revitalizing it, refreshing it. What are some of the ways that you guys are refreshing it this year?
Well, one of the things is like I said, is what I just mentioned, is we're trying to bring in some really good guest stars. That Ancient City Con really focused more on, I think, gaming, which we still have and are focused on gaming. But we're also adding in a fairly decent star signing area. We've got our headliners, Billy West, who is probably one of the biggest voice actors in the industry right now. He took over the mantle of doing voices for Looney Tunes characters after Mel Blanc passed away, which is huge. He's the voice of the Red M&M. He is the voice of Ren and Stimpy. He's a dozen voices on Futurama, from Fry, Zoidberg.
I think when I pulled up Billy West, it was like, I thought I typed in Futurama on accident. I was like, oh, damn, this whole show is by him.
Yeah. And he's a part on the, I don't know exactly what he plays yet, but he does voice acting on the new Disenchantment Netflix original series that just came out, Matt Groening's new series. So which has been very good reviews. So
absolutely,
we happened to get him on a very timely. We had him booked and didn't realize that was even going to come out.
Roll out. That's pretty cool.
So it's rolled out just a week or two ago, and it's been getting some fairly good reviews so far. So he'll be doing panels talking about all of that.
Oh, fantastic!
And then we also have Jason Marsden, who again is another. Incredible voice talent, who has done so much stuff. It's
what I'm finding out is these voice actors. I mean, when it comes to their resume, it's crazy. Like James Marsden. I mean, Spirited Away, Young Justice. He was on like that Hulk and the Agents of Smash. Like when it comes to these voice actors, man, you'd be surprised by how much work they've done.
It's insane the amount of work. I mean. It's his nickname is basically that guy that's done everything, kind of thing. It's if it's a voice actor situation, he's probably in a character in some show somewhere. His IMDb page is, you just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. But he was also when he was younger, he was a child actor, but he was on some of those like Boy Meets World type shows.
Okay.
And his friend Alexander that he's bringing with him was on Charles in Charge, and then also has moved on to voice acting. He's on Teen Titans Go, in the show and the movie. So it's there's a lot of exciting guests that we have that have done a real diverse array of shows that I think could probably find a attraction from somebody that they're going to like.
You know, when it comes to the plethora of events that you throw, I got to give you props for channeling that voice actor pool of talent, because I mean, when I was first started going to cons, voice acting and voice actors on the flyer never got my attention. I was always after like the writers, the artists, the actors. But then like now researching and having done the show in so long, I look at voice actors as a big deal, because it's like, man, all of these guys helped shape my childhood. Like, Kevin Conroy is the voice of Batman for me when I'm reading like books and etc. So it's cool to see that, as I gotten older, in my appreciation for just, what it takes to even book a guest, and, voice acting and how big that kind of community is. It's really impressive, man, all the work that you've done to get a lot of these names here in town.
Yeah, I mean, voice acting for me too was another one of those ones where I thought, I mean, I go to conventions so often, and I see all these big stars and celebrities and stuff, and voice actors were not always at the top of my list. But I happened at one of my first MegaCons, I ran into, it was actually a podcast booth back then that had brought Billy West in on their own dime to have him at their booth for,
oh, that's cool.
And he definitely wasn't at the echelon he is now as far as a star goes, but but I met him, and then we ended up doing an interview for the magazine later on, and it was just such a great interview, and I've always liked him. And I said, if I ever do a show, on my own, then I have the choice of who I can book. He's going to be one of the first people I contact, which was what we did with this. As soon as we signed the papers for Ancient CityCon, I called up his agent and said, can we get him down here to Jacksonville? So
yeah, that's
I worked
awesome.
it out and did it. So
you've got a plethora of guests. I know that it includes not just voice actors, but I think someone from it looked like one of the Black Panther cast members.
Yeah, Janisha Adams Ginyard she is one of the Wakanda warriors, the female Wakanda warriors.
Cool.
She's actually in the movie, and she's also a stunt double for the lead actress. Her name escapes me right at the moment, but she also plays
Shuri.
She also plays on Walking Dead.
Okay, yeah. I got you.
She plays Michonne on Walking Dead, and she's a stunt double for her in Walking Dead and in Black Panther.
Oh, that's cool.
As well as being one of the Wakanda warriors. And she's also a stunt person in the new Godzilla movie coming out, King of Monsters. And then she was also a former wrestler in the Women of Wrestling League. She was
awesome
Frost on Women of Wrestling. So if you're a wrestling fan, you got a little something to come out for as well. So.
Yeah, that's cool. So the event, Ancient CityCon starts Friday.
It starts Friday, and it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Every day we've got...
you really are a glutton for punishment, huh?
We are, yeah, right. Production's already started for me. That's why I was just down in St. Augustine in a meeting with the hotel. So... but yeah, and we have a couple of, even once the vendor room closes, we have a panel room that's going to stay open. We have some bands coming in. Last Electric Rodeo plays on Friday night. And then Saturday night, we have Aurelio Voltaire, who is a very popular kind of goth musician, and he does everything from animation to film and all that stuff as well. He'll be there selling a bunch of stuff.
Cool.
He has his own toy lines. He's, pretty prolific artist.
And I imagine tons of vendors, comic book reps and all that.
We've got a bunch of great vendors from all over all over the area, and a bunch of one of my favorites is we got a bunch of local artists for the Artist Alley who are going to show off all their original creations, and hopefully get a bunch of fans to come out and buy some stuff from them. So.
Max, I got to give you props, man, because I mean, I've thrown small events, and I know the amount of planning, so I can imagine the production and nightmare that comes with a 3-day con at this level, having to juggle guests and talent, vendors, and all of that. I mean, what joy do you get out of cons? Is there like that one moment or that one thing that you're like, okay, this was all worth it, all that craziness?
I think as far as putting stuff together, for me, it's like I've done nightclub events for 25 years in Jacksonville. I've done goth clubs, fetish nights, EDM dance nights. I've done all sorts of different promotions in town, and it's always about seeing the reaction of the crowd and having a good time and seeing the reaction on the back end. Or doing small shows like Force Fest that we've done, or Hall of Heroes, when people can be like, I can't believe I got to meet my favorite, blank author, writer, guest star actor, whoever, voice actor in Jacksonville. You know, I can't believe I got to do this here. It's crazy. You know, so and that to me, it's like this is what we do. We're trying to bring better things to Jacksonville. We're trying to build, you know, the cultural level of this city up as much as possible because we deserve it. It's a great city to be in, and it needs more of this. And you know, I'm just doing my part to make it happen. So.
Man, you know. And that's real commendable because you've always looked at the community and said, all right, what can I bring or who can I take here to, you know, showcase your work? And I got to give you props because thanks to you, at least I got to meet Adam Bryce Thomas, the artist for Sonic, who we've had on the show,
and he'll be at Ancient City Con as well.
We would have never knew it unless like you had him at the show.
Yeah.
And when we found out he was a Jax local, we were like, what?
There is so much talent that happens in the city that you don't know about because it's either just such a big territory to cover, and people are going out less and less. You know, they're going shopping less and less. They're just going out, you know, less and less. So it's the more we can get them out and finding out what's going on in the community, the more they'll realize what a great city this really is. And that's why we're featuring a lot of local art. There's some artists that I don't even know were, you know, look, I didn't know he was in town until I ran into him at he was working the copy center at Ready Arts.
Oh,
you know, and I'm like, he works there, and I was making some copies. And I'm like, he found out what we were doing, and he's like, I was like, what do you do? And he's like, well, I do this, and I do Sonic the Hedgehog for Archie Comics. And I was like, wait.
That's really good.
I'm like, are you joking? Like, seriously? What do you mean you do that? And he's like, I illustrated. I'm like,
yeah, I remember you telling me this story.
I'm like, you illustrate Sonic for Archie. I'm like, that's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, and sure enough, it's like that. I just saw him. He had a booth at Dragon Con in Atlanta, too. So he was one of the people I went up and saw. So,
do you still go to cons, and are you able to enjoy them, or are you on like, what are they doing right? How can I incorporate some of this? How are the fans reacting?
Well, I mean, I as most people that know me know, I live my work. I mean, I don't have much of a life other than, I mean, going out is work for me. You know, going
and your work is pretty cool.
Going to the movies is work for me. Mm-hmm. Going to conventions is work for me. But it's also it's a labor of love in everything I do, because everything I do, whether it's publishing or if I'm going to a concert, I'm going to cover it for the magazine, but I'm also going it because I usually really, really love that band, or, you know, I want to photograph that band. Same thing with conventions. It's something that I go to the ones that I want to, and I do have correspondence that I send to other ones that I can't make it to, or that that I'm not necessarily as interested in. I'll send people to help. They help promote us and hand out flyers and things like that.
You are a really well-versed nerd. I will say that. You got your hand in a little bit of everything, from the comics, the video games, the cosplay, the music, etc. And so that makes, and I think that's why your cons have been around so long, withstood the test of time, and just are quality, because you yourself, you live it, man. Yeah.
Well, we try to do the best production. I think, what kind of show would I want to go to? And then I try to achieve creating that show for myself that I would be happy attending, you know, and then hopefully everyone else will be happy attending it as well. You know, if it's up to my standards, hopefully it'll be good enough for everybody else. So, because I try to keep our standards fairly high and make sure people have a good time, make sure patrons are happy. I mean, that's the goal of it. We're here to entertain. That's the name of the name of the game. That's the job. Entertain people. Give something that people could come and get behind, get excited about, and have a good time at. And kind of, I mean, it's a hard world we live in right now, and we all like to have that little escapism where we can, whether it's a comic book or a music album or a convention. It's all the same kind of escapism where we want to go. People want to go dress up and play a different character and, you know, express themselves in a whole different way than they could out on the street. You know, if they cosplayed out in the street all the time, they might get arrested. So
that's what I respect about you, Max. You put the people first.
Yeah,
and
that's what it's about. They're the ones, you know, people who are supporting us, the great people who have bought tickets in advance. Thank you very much. Then, you know, those are the ones that make it happen, and the people that come out and support it. We would not. There's no reason to do a show if it wasn't for the audience. So that they always have to come first. That's number one. And then, you know, and we want to make sure our guests are happy, that the people that do come want to see them, and hopefully it's a real it's a chaotic mix of things that you kind of hope works. I mean, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't, but it's always great when it does.
Fantastic. Max, I know you've got a busy day still to come.
Yes.
Any last words for our fans, for the people listening who are on the edge of like buying tickets and just need that final push, what can they expect?
I would say just go check out the website. It's ancientcitycon.com, and it's got you can go to the show schedule page and kind of see what we have lined up as far as panels. We have all kinds of panels from gaming to publishing to cosplay to celebrity panels and group celebrity panels for like voice acting. That's all going to come together. Patty Hawkins is one of the best panel moderators and MCs in the industry, and we've got him on board to help out this year. And I just think look over all the information on the website, and that'll kind of give you an idea of what you're in for and what to expect. And please go like the page on Facebook and find the event page and click the going button.
Fantastic. You heard it here, folks. AncientCityCon.com, right?
AncientCityCon.com.
Buy your tickets, support local, and support something awesome, man. Like Max has said, this is a con that has roots in history for good reason. So go out there, buy your tickets. We're going to go ahead and go on a quick little break, and then we'll come back for an interview with Jason Marsden.
Hello.
Hey, Jason, this is Botter. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, Butter. Can you hear me?
Perfectly. I can hear you great.
Awesome.
Jason, I was creeping along your Twitter, and I noticed that you were just in a Dragon Con, man. You were in Atlanta, right up the whatever that phrase is for a hop, skip, and jump away from Jacksonville.
You got it. Definitely like a very broad hop and a skip and a jump. But yeah,
hey, your Two-Face cosplay was fantastic, by the way.
Thank you so much. I'm embarrassed to say that I started doing that. I almost didn't do it because I started doing the makeup, and halfway into it, my friends who I was rooming with said, "Isn't it supposed to be the left side of the face?" I can't. Oh, shoot! Yes.
As you're about to walk out,
get away with it.
Yeah, that's like Dragon Con is not the place you want to mess up a Two-Face cosplay, because there will be nerds that call you out every corner.
There will be scrutiny, exactly. So I was like, no, I'm just not going to do it. And we were running late for something. I'm like, I could do it again. Let me give it a shot. So yeah, I'm glad you dig it. That's actually a costume I wore for Halloween like 20 years ago.
Oh, it didn't look a day over one.
It felt like that in my waistline.
That's good. So, Jason, will this be your first time in Jax come this weekend?
No, actually, this will be my second time in Jax.
Nice.
Jacksonville. The first time was, again, probably like 20-some years ago, and it was I worked on a movie of the week, and it was cursed. It was like a cursed movie of the week. People got hurt. Everyone kept getting sick. It was not fun. This will be like my do-over.
Oh yeah, a long time coming do-over. Dang, yes. I feel like there needs to be like parade banners and all that, man. Jason Marsden comes back for his Jacksonville do-over. I know that's a mouthful, but I'm sure we could fit on a damn banner.
If you want, it's not necessary.
Man, and
Make sure I'm not harmed.
I'm happy that you're coming back for your Jax do-over with Ancient City Con, man. I just actually finished talking with Max, and he mentioned how this was kind of like the con's revitalization. It's first, it's refresh kind of period. It's first time back after its kind of a short hiatus. Yes. And man, you're among like a really great guest list, man.
Yes, Billy West, my buddy Billy West, my best friend Alexander Polinsky from Teen Titans Go will be there, and looks like some cool cosplay folk. And I was looking at some of the names just a few minutes ago. It's a great lineup. Plus tattoos. You can get tattoos at this con.
Hey man, that's the only two things I need in my life: Billy West, Jason Marsden, and a tattoo. Like, come on.
Well, it'd be great if you got a tattoo of Billy West and Jason Marsden.
Man, and with the banner that reads, Jason Marsden comes back to Jackson 20 years to make up for his... So, Jason...
I could see it.
Jason,
I could see it.
What do you look forward to when you do cons, or you're a guest at cons? I imagine that you've done a few. Like, this won't be your first time doing a con or a guest appearance at a con.
No, I have been blessed that I have been working this nutty business for so long that people like me enough to invite me to these things. And if I wasn't an actor, I would definitely be a participant. Like, I went to Dragon Con just on my own. Like, they didn't invite me. I had been before, and I live in Nashville, so It is literally a hop, skip, and a jump for me. And I had free time this weekend, so I'm going to go up and do it because I love dressing up. I love seeing costumes. I love meeting celebrities and people who I admire. So I dig it. So when I go to cons, first off, I love traveling, love going to new cities.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like this big vacation, you know?
It sounds like it. Sounds awesome.
For me personally, like it definitely feeds the ego. I like when people come up and they say such wonderful things to me, or they tell me how I've affected their lives through work I've done. And it just feels good. It's like it's the least I could do, because I wouldn't be there if it weren't for the fans, if it weren't for the attendees, who I call the real guests.
Man,
cons.
That just touched me in my heart, and I'm poking at my heart for the record. Okay,
right on. Then that's me actually through cellular poking you in the heart.
Ouch! Okay, too hard, Jason. Too hard.
Sorry.
You know.
I get
it's cool that
aggressive with my love.
It's cool that you bring that up, because I was just talking with Max about how in my younger days, when I was first going to cons, I was looking for like comic book artists, comic book writers, like blockbuster movie actors, and I never paid attention to this incredible like voice acting community. And you know, it took me through many, you know, visiting a lot of cons and really kind of like, I guess, being nostalgic where I'm at now, where it's like, man,
sure,
these voice actors have played such a big part in me growing up. Kevin Conroy is the voice of Batman when I read Batman comics, you know,
sure,
and it's things like that you don't really realize, like, man, these guys, you know, were there when I was younger, when I was in my most like influential. So I imagine that you probably get a bunch of, you know, probably 30, 40-year-olds like, man, you were the voice of in the Goofy movie, man. That was
my childhood. That is the phrase I hear the most. And I get it, because it's like Billy West, for example. Like I was watching Ren and Stimpy before I really started, you know, my voiceover career. And then lo and behold, I get to work with the guy a handful of times. It's all, you know, I'm working with people who voiced my childhood, you know, a whole bunch. So I totally get it.
So how do you get involved with Ancient City Con?
You know, I have met Max peripherally. His partner is a good friend of mine here in Nashville, and they told me about this, and they asked if I want to be a part of it, and I'm like, yeah, man. So I was one of the first people they invited, and you know, I believe in what they're doing. I like the hybrid of pop culture and tattoos and definitely celebrating the cosplay community, because that's like super outstanding. And you know, I'll take a free flight anywhere.
That's the attitude. That's the truth I wanted to get out of that. All right, cool, man. Max is one of these dudes who is always hustling and bustling and like networking, that he just know. Yeah. I'm never surprised when like he's got a guest or he brings up a name. It's like, of course you know him. Of course you know him. So you mentioned that you know, some of the most common phrase you typically hear is, "Hey, you were part of my childhood." But I mean, is there any other like common questions or requests that you get from fans or people who find out about your profession?
A lot of people ask me, how can I get into voice acting? You know, and I always give them the same spiel. It's like, you know, it's make sure that you're taking acting classes, make sure you're taking improv classes, because it's no point in having a great voice or being able to do funny voices unless you can perform with that voice. Because a lot of people will come up to me and they'll just go ahead and they'll do like Goofy, or they'll do Bugs Bunny, and it's adorable. But there's a difference between like doing the voices for your friends at work or for the family in the living room, than doing it for real behind a mic, where you're expected to emote and give life to these characters. So that's another common question.
Okay. Now, when I was telling my girlfriend that I was interviewing you, and she was like, "Oh, what's he done?" And I kind of went through the list. And when I got to the Goofy movie, first thing she asked me was, "Oh my God, make him sing the song. Please make him sing the song." How often do you get that from other 30, 40-year-olds?
Not that often. In the movie, I actually didn't do the singing. It was my friend Aaron Lohr who booked that. Disney has these things. They want it to sound a certain way, and I guess I can sing, I can kind of do what Aaron did, but they wanted a certain quality, so they got someone else. Same with like Lion King. Like Matthew Broderick, he can sing fantastically, but they hired another actor to do his singing voice for Simba. So I did actually for the A Goofy Movie's 20th anniversary at the D23 convention in Anaheim. Bill Farmer, the voice of Goofy, and myself sang on the open road live. So it was the first time I actually got to sing as Max there. So now, ever since people in the in cons when Bill and I were together, they ask us to sing together. So it's starting to happen.
The power of the people, man. That is the power of the
power of the people, right?
So I'm looking at.
I will deliver.
So
yes,
I'm familiar with some of your roles, but for anyone listening, when you pull up, Jason Marsden and Google, and you get kind of like that initial IMDb overview, you'll find that, like we mentioned, you were the voice for Max Goof in the Goofy Movie, but you also have done things like Spirited Away. You were freaking Thackerberry Binks and Hocus Pocus, which your Twitter...
Thackeray, that's right.
Thackeray, thank you. Which your Twitter highlights, which is great, because I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, do I have the wrong guy? Who's the cat? Oh, duh. And something near and dear to the Short Box podcast, you are the voice of Bart Allen, a.k.a. Impulse, on Young Justice.
That's right, Potter. Very crash of you to say.
What,
that? I just ran around the world and came back.
Amongst you've got one hell of a filmography. What are some of the most unique or challenging roles that you've had to play or adapt to?
What's unique and challenging? Unique and challenging. I guess I'm thinking of it like a negative connotation, but it's not really. It's always been challenging in a good way because I love to do what I do, and like A Goofy Movie was challenging because it was a feature, so you're recording a lot longer, and you're doing a lot more takes. Like we recorded A Goofy Movie over the course of like a year and a half, and I'd be in the booth for like 8 hours at a time, and
wow.
People ask what's my favorite line from A Goofy Movie, and it's Goofy's line, "Well, it's not over yet," because I must have heard Bill Farmer record that like 50 times.
Wow.
Well, it's not over yet. Well, it's not over yet. Well, it's not over yet. I was dreaming about him doing that for weeks after recorded it. So yeah, it just depends on the project, but everything's been too much fun. I haven't really worked on anything that has put me out.
So if I'm looking at it just from like a high level or a novice eyes, Spirited Away definitely stands out as maybe the different element amongst like some of the ones that you've got on here. Was it any different doing voicing for an anime?
Yes, it was, because unlike A Goofy Movie where I'm just reading the script and emoting, I'm doing the same with Spirited Away, but I have to dub it, which they call ADR, automated dialogue replacement. So I have the picture in front of me on a screen, and they cue up Haku's line, and they cue me to, like, they have three beeps proceeding in my headphones, and where the fourth beep should be is my cue to start talking, and then I gotta fit that line, that performance in to his lip flap, which may or may not be like the timing that I'm used to talking, so I have to adapt to that. And you're doing one line at a time. You're working by yourself, but that is a skill that I'm really good at. So it's like a fun challenge for me, But that's the difference between doing anime and like I guess traditional voice recording, voice animation. Yeah.
And I imagine at this point in your career, you've got a process pretty much in place now. I imagine you get a role, you can kind of find out what you got to do and stuff. But you mentioned when you were starting out, some of the advice that you would give someone is to take acting classes. It's more than just talking, reading a script, or adding that emotion. How else did you prepare when you were first starting out, or maybe even now? How do you mentally prepare, or maybe even physically? Because it sounds like it's just as a physical toll as it is a mental toll.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's I've been doing this for 30 plus years, and I've definitely evolved as a performer. And I think I've definitely cared less as I've gone on, meaning like trying not to overthink my approach, my performance. I found, like for me anyway, it's all individualized. For me, I found that my best performance kind of happens when I just jump in blindly, and I'm able to adapt and shift it as we go, instead of rehearsing something over and over again, where now I'm just stuck trying to match that rehearsal I did weeks ago or hours ago, and it's really not fun. It works so much more just flying by the seat of my pants, willing to make myself look foolish if it didn't work. Being willing to fail with dignity is what I've learned ultimately, and I recommend that for any actor, because that's what you're doing. You're being up there, you're being paid to be vulnerable as somebody else, and it really works when you go to those places.
So you said something earlier that kind of resonated with me. You mentioned having to hear that goofy line over and over again for, 8 hours. I've recorded, and this definitely is on a smaller scale, but I've been in a situation where I've had to repeat, the same thing multiple times, and it just gets so annoying. I mean, I imagine as a voice actor, like, do you ever accidentally, stay in character or have those moments where you're like, God, I don't want to hear like that phrase anymore, or goodness gracious, I'm ready to like just be done with this and move on?
No, there are times you do it so much you're like, I don't even know what this means anymore. But no, and I don't really like stay in character. I mean, there's not really a whole lot of room for method in voiceover anyway. Sometimes I do just for fun. But it depends on the project, depends on the character. I will say there is one project, this is the only thing that comes to mind that was really ponderous, is, I think I mentioned ADR. Usually you record a project, besides doing anime, ADR comes in at the end of a project in post-production when they've finished shooting it or they've finished animating it. And maybe there's like an extra lip flap that someone's animated, or maybe there's some dialogue that needs to be added to and really clarify the scene. So they'll bring you back to dub it in. To save costs, some productions will just eliminate ADR by having you kind of record a bunch, like a library of stuff that they can use just in case. So there's one project, I'm trying to think if I'm violating my non-disclosure agreement by saying it's Young Justice, but I don't think I am. So it's for Young Justice. There's like so many characters in the project that my character's Bart Allen would have to. This took like a couple hours, just pages of being like, okay, I have to say Batman's name like you're calling out to him, like you're running towards him, or like he's falling. Okay, Now it's Batman. Now do Robin. Okay, now you're being punched. Okay, now you're being kicked, and just over and over and over again. But it had to do with like the entire cast in Young Justice, and most people who've seen the show will know like it's a huge cast.
Yeah.
So after about 30 minutes of doing the same thing over and over again, it gets a little exhausting.
Man, I can imagine. And since we're on the topic of Young Justice, we mentioned you play you voice for Bart Allen. Season 3, the news of season 3 being renewed was put out maybe a couple months ago. So congrats on that. I know
Thank you.
Lot of friends, and especially if, comic heads here in town, that were excited about it. It's one of the few shows that my dad gives props, like in today's like modern and cartoons. Yeah. He's like, oh crap, Young Justice coming out, like we need to make a whole day out of it and stuff like that.
Your dad watches cartoons?
Man, my dad is a grown ass kid. He's the reason I got into comics. He's the reason I'm a nerd, and he's gotten older, but he still loves it, man, and he loves he loves a good cartoon, and Young Justice is definitely one of them. Like, he loves all of DC's cartoons and stuff. Are you a comic head yourself?
I'm not. I tried, but I never got stuck with a storyline. I never collected anything hardcore. I collected, like, I was a big Transformers fan, so I had all the Transformers stuff. I collected The Tick because I felt like that's the first cartoon comic book I kind of discovered on my own. So I really dug it. So I collected those. I have like a bunch of Batman graphic novels and stuff, but I never, I don't know anything about like the Marvel Universe that sort of thing. I'm kind of learning about that as I see the movies.
Did you do so? What type of with you not being so in tune with the comics? Did you do any type of research on Bart Allen for the comic books, or was it kind of like just your natural, regular process of like just getting into it from a voice acting perspective?
No, I had no idea who Bart Allen was when I booked it. And it's funny, when I auditioned for the project, I had gone in and to a show. It was under a pseudonym. It was a secret. And
wow.
And I remember like they had a whole description of the show, and it read kind of like these kind of mystical ninjas with different powers. I'm like, this is so stupid. It sounds like Power Rangers.
Yeah,
what is this? I mean, really?
Huh.
And I read for this like fast talking magi, and I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, this is awful. and then weeks later, my agent says, okay, so you booked Young Justice, and you're going in next week. And I'm like, hold on, I didn't read for Young Justice. He's like, yeah, you did. Remember that project? I'm like,
the Magic
my gosh.
Ninjas?
Yeah. And my agent said, so now the producer wants to talk to you before you go in because it's important. And that's when I found out about the character and how, and to keep it a secret because the fandom will really, enjoy seeing his appearance. And just a little bit about who he is and how old he was and a little backstory. So that was enough for me to go. We kind of played with it in the room, but I love working on it. It was great drama. It's like like doing a soap opera.
Oh, dude, yeah. That is definitely one good thing about Young Justice. They cover all grounds. I mean, from animation, the action, and most importantly, like that character development.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, to give props to you and your dad and the fans who loved it so much, because it's literally because of the fans that we're back.
Yep.
Then the Cartoon Network was like, no, we're done. But the fans wanted more, and thankfully, DC Universe, the DC streaming network is where it will be on. So, and I think it's coming out they'll release it next year, but it'll be exclusively on the DC streaming network.
Trust me, I've already got my subscription already in. I'm just waiting on the app to launch. I'm excited, man. And that's the best part about being a nerd in today. You have a voice, and there's the capability and the means to have your voice taken very seriously, especially when you group up with hundreds of thousands of people. And even I was like, man, that is insane. Like, this many people got together for the love of this. I mean, it's a cartoon series at the core of it, but it means so much to so many different people to have like this art on TV and back or whatnot. I was like humbly surprised too.
It's amazing. We all have access these days to be heard and to let direct access to studios, to actors, and let them know how you feel. I mean, I encourage that most people do that kindly, of course, as they practice their social outreach. But it is absolutely fantastic, and the proof is in this particular pudding that the show is now back. Because the fans demanded it. And
I can imagine in your shoes or something similar, like just, going into work the next day, to voice, Bart Allen or whoever on the team, and just knowing that, man, this is because the fans want it, not because, exactly. The studio has seen numbers or they're trying new things. It's like, no.
Not trying to sell action figures. The fans want the story.
So what was, for you, your moment in voice acting where it just clicked, where you felt like, okay, this is meaningful. I'm good at it. Like, this is my moment that moment that drove you to go further, to be better, etc.
Oh, that's a great question, man. I don't know if I can pinpoint it. The first cartoon I ever did when I was 12 years old was Disney's Adventures with the Gummy Bears. And I would land a few things here and there after that. And I liked it instantly. I mean, being a big cartoon fan, and I walk in that room and there's June Foray, who we just lost last year, and Paul Winchell, the original voice of Tigger, and Corey Burton, all these guys I used to listen to, Lorenzo Music, the original voice of Garfield. They were all in this room, and so I think from that point I'm like, man, I do dig this. It was kind of jarring seeing what they look like for real, because in the late 80s, there wasn't access that we have now. In fact, Lorenzo Music, and a lot of people may not know this, it was the voice of Garfield, would famously not want to be shown. Every time they did like a behind-the-scenes special, they would kind of show him in silhouette, which he kind of did as like a private joke. So it was a thrill for me to like see what this guy actually looks like and meet the person, see the voice come out of their face. I think that's the answer to your question. I think that's what clicked in. And as I grew as an actor, I definitely wanted to grow in that area as well.
So I imagine that you've given tons of advice to, up and coming voice actors or people that wanted to pursue this career. But can you recall maybe the best piece of advice that maybe you got from one of your peers or idols that really kind of stuck with you?
Don't censor yourself. Play to the paper. That's sort of a technical one. Play to the paper so you don't have that P sound, that sound that you hear on the microphone, which a lot of newbies usually succumb to. But yeah, just perform it from your heart and not in your head.
Man, that's solid stuff, man. Like, man, do you do voice acting like panels or tutorials or any type of teaching methods?
I have no methods. I have this voiceover workshop that I do, and I do it at cons occasionally, and it's just play. I bring scripts, and it's on a volunteer basis, or I'll pull people from the audience, and you get to read lines, with me or with each other, and I give everyone like a taste of what I do for a living. That's why, people who want to get into it, they could see if they have an aptitude for it, or they could see how hard is it. Because I will, I'm not mean, but I definitely put people through their paces and try to give them that experience of like, well, this is what a producer's going for. Make sure you hit this when you say this line. Make sure you play to the paper. Technically make sure you keep your hands over here. You don't want to, ruin this other person's take by moving the paper. I definitely put them through their paces. That's the extent of it. I wouldn't consider myself a teacher, but I'm happy to be a guide if you need one.
Dude, I'm learning a lot. I mean, I never thought about the whole paper thing. I didn't even think about your hand movements might interrupt another actor's focus or concentration. I mean, is there any other? Imagine like the biggest misconception that people have is that voice acting is easy. But is there any other misconceptions that you see in people when it comes to like how they view your profession?
A lot of people say it's not acting because I've done my share of on-camera acting, and people who know me from that will say, "Oh, so I heard that you're doing cartoons. I guess you're not acting anymore." And I'm always polite, and I let them know that I'm still acting. It's still performing what I'm doing. So I hope people keep that in mind. That it is still work. It is still performing, even though you're using your voice. There is still a level of emotion and performance that is desired, that is required by the people you work with. So keep that in mind.
And as far as like future work, because we talked about Young Justice season 3 coming next year, so I imagine you're already wrapped up with doing the voice acting for that. What else do you have coming up as far as projects?
Well, like I mentioned before, I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I moved here. I love it here. I work with musicians. I love the local music scene. Talk about performers, man. Like there are people who I've seen pour their guts out on the stage with like 6 people in the audience, and it's like, how do you do that? So I've slowly started working with them, and I do local shows here in town. I'll kind of produce little one-offs, anything from music to poetry. Are you familiar? You must know who Dante Bosco is from
Yes.
Hook. Dante is not just a fantastic actor and producer, but he is a brilliant poet. And I've seen him do his work. I was like, please, can you come to Nashville? I'll do a show for you. So last year, it was one of my most proudest moments. I got him a space. Dante hosted it. He did his poetry, and we invited like anybody in town who wanted to come up and do a poem to do it. And we had about 25 people sign up. And and he was kind of like the MC, and he did his thing in between. So I produced that, and I'm doing a variety show. I call it the Mars Variety Show. I encourage people to follow me on Instagram at Mars Presents, and you can kind of see what I'm up to. Everything I just talked about with the music and with the variety show, it's kind of like a throwback to the variety shows of the 60s and 70s, like Ronan Martin's Laugh-In or Hee Haw. But I'm utilizing, obviously modern talent and comedians and burlesque, that sort of thing. Giving the local scene a bigger platform to showcase their talent is what I'm doing. That is
awesome, dude. One thing I always enjoy about talking with talented individuals like yourself is seeing how they utilize their talent and their art form in other capacities. So it's kind of cool.
Sure.
And it makes sense that you've got a great voice. It's what you fine-tune and you've worked on all these years, that you would throw a variety show or host, these different type of productions. That's really cool. Do you think that you would be doing that, full time if you weren't doing voice acting? Like if the roads had changed for you, like what else could you see yourself doing with your voice, or even just doing, in a different profession?
Oh gosh, I have no idea. That's so funny. I have no idea. I mean, I'd probably have to be, a ham somewhere. I like attention. I'll admit it. I like attention. I got a huge ego. It needs to be filled. I like to perform. It's funny. The variety show, it came out as like, I was turning 40 and I wanted to do something special. And I started watching all these old Dean Martin show episodes. I'm like, oh man, I could do that. I could dress up in a nice suit and, host and tell stupid jokes and invite all my performer friends to do an act here and there. And it just sort of evolved from that. And there is no stability in this industry. There really isn't. So I would probably glom onto anything that was long term. I mean, I would love to do, another cartoon series, television. If I could host this show for the rest of my life, I would do that. All that said, the creative part of me would probably still want to, try my hand at other things,
Awesome.
I sew.
and do you have that like? I'm sorry, do you have that like White Buffalo project that you wish you would have? If you had a chance, whether it's something that you could go back in time and be a part of, or even something now that you're like, man, I wish I kind of would have. If my schedule would have freed up, I would have definitely hopped on that. Do you have like those kind of mythical like projects that you wish you would have had?
I'm still working on them. I have a handful of projects that I've been writing or nurturing over the years. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I kind of, it's not that I'm lazy, but it's like the last thing writers like to do is write. It's gotta come from inspiration.
Okay.
And I'm not just giving excuses. It's like, where I live, I have a home to take care of, so that, grass to mow and my son to take to school. And I'm too nitpicky to have like, assistants help me do stuff. So I like to do it myself. So other things creatively do get in the way, but I give them attention when I do. But yeah, man, I'm working on stuff, and I'm actually meeting a lot of cool people here in Nashville that I think can help me see those to fruition. So, I have a music movie that I've been nurturing. I have this sort of horror genre entity. I'll send you all the stuff when they're done. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And it seems like you're pretty active on social media. I know your Twitter. It looked like it was just at James Marsden, correct?
It's Jason Marsden.
Okay, sorry.
James is the other guy.
Sorry.
I gave you one.
I know. I think it's because I was so focused on not saying that. I was like, don't screw up. Yes, Jason Marsden. My apologies. And it sounded like your Instagram handle was the same as well.
Correct. Jason Marsden at Instagram and on and Twitter as well. But I have more of, just for those who want. I'm happy to interact with people and message and whatnot. I seem to do it more on Instagram. I like that platform a lot more.
Absolutely. And you know what, man, and for those listening that have either bought their tickets for Ancient City Con or are on the fence, hopefully by the time they've gotten through the Max portion of this episode and our interview, that they've already secured those tickets. But what can people expect when they come to Ancient City Con and they see your booth and they walk up?
They're gonna see they'll be shocked because I'm much shorter than you realize. That'll be that. But they will be greeted warmly. I'll be so happy to meet you, and I will sign stuff that you bring. I have stuff that I brought that if you want, I could sign for you. There is, actually I haven't looked at the schedule. I wonder if I'm even doing a panel, a voiceover panel. I should probably talk to Max and make sure that's happening. That might be happening.
Max will tell you right off the top of his head, man. He's got that stuff memorized.
Right. Yeah, I think there's parties. I will be there. You definitely, if anything, you must experience this convention, not just for me, but you got to meet my buddy Alex. He was on Teen Titans Go. He was on Charles in Charge back in the day, and he does this fantastic panel on avatarism, which is it's sort of like self-empowerment for the cosplay community that he does in his own fantastic, unique way.
Oh, hell yeah! We got a big cosplay community here, so that's great.
Yeah, highly encourage that. It's gonna be a blast.
Sweet. Listen, Jason, I'm telling you right now to be.
It's James.
Jason, I'm giving you a heads up now. You're gonna get a lot of love here in Jax, man. Like I'm telling you. The fact that the Young Justice is getting renewed and just like, man, your IMDb credits and the things that you've worked on, man, I'm telling you, you're going to be greeted warmly because I have faith that my fellow nerds and just fans of pop culture are going to enjoy what you bring to Jax, man. And I've only talked to you for it's been 30, 40 minutes, and I've learned a lot just from you, man. Like I didn't know all the different nuances for voiceover. So I want to say thank you so much.
Are you going to be there?
Yes, I'm going to try my best, man. I've got some stuff going on, but I think I'm going to just tell my mom I can't make it after all. But no, man, thank you so much for your insight and just taking time to talk with us. And I want to say thank you for being an integral part of my childhood, because I know from ages 5 to 21, I wanted to be Max.
Right on. Hopefully you were nicer to your father than Max was to his father.
That's what I loved about Max. There was so much similarities, but in the end, man, I showed love. So, Jason, man, thank you so much. And if you want to go ahead and give us your Twitter and the social media handles or any websites or anything that people can go visit and find out more about you, feel free to, man.
Yes, please follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's at Jason Marsden. And also, please, it would mean so much if you followed me at Mars Presents. It's MarsPresents at Instagram, because that's where I kind of personally share with the music scene and all the creative stuff I'm doing outside of voiceover. If you're interested in that, and then and also please come see me at Ancient City.
Definitely. And once again, for those that want to buy tickets for Ancient City Con, ancientcitycon.com. You can also find them on Facebook and Instagram, and the links that Max gave earlier on. So, Jason, thank you so much, man. I hope I have the honor of meeting you in person and shaking your hand, dude.
I hope so. Please try to come by.
Absolutely, man.
It sounds like your dad and my dad have something in common. They're both goofy.
You don't know how much I'm going to get that soundbite. That's going to be my dad's ringtone. All right, man. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate it a lot.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.